Before the light, the hour of Lauds asterisk. The air is still. Not quiet, not silent, still. The kind of stillness that only exists before dawn, in a place forgotten by time. Beyond the hills and fog, beyond roads and cities, tucked deep in the arms of a wooded valley, stands a stone abbey. Its walls are thick. Its doors are heavy. Its life is slow. It is the year 1147. Inside the abbey, time does not tick. It breathes. A bell rings once. Low, slow, hollow. It's not loud, but it reaches every corner, through corridors, stone staircases, and across bare wooden floors. It glides into the sleeping quarters like a cold breath of wind. And one by one, the monks awaken. They do not stir with alarm. They rise with rhythm. This hour belongs to Lauds, the morning prayer. In their small stone cells, each monk sits upright on a wooden cot. There is no pillow, no mattress, just a wooden frame, a thin straw mat, and a wool blanket, rough and worn. Beside the bed is a robe, folded neatly, a belt, sandals, and nothing more. One by one, they dress. Slowly, mindfully. The walls do not echo with chatter, only with the quiet rustle of fabric and the creak of old wood. No one speaks. The halls are dim. Only a few candles flicker along the way, mounted in iron sconces, dripping wax down cold stone. Shadows stretch long and footsteps are soft. The procession is unhurried. In single file, the monks make their way to the chapel. It is the same walk they take every day, and every day it feels like entering another world. The chapel is the heart of the abbey. It is tall, with vaulted ceilings and narrow stained glass windows. Though the sun has not yet risen, the windows glow faintly from the moonlight outside. Candles line the altar, their flames swaying like breath. Each monk finds his place, not assigned, but known, and kneels. Lauds begins not with music, but with breath. A single voice begins the chant. It is soft, monotone, purposeful. Domini, labia mea aperis. Et os mea manunciabit laudem tuum. Lord, open my lips, and my mouth will declare your praise. The rest join in. Their voices are not loud. They are not expressive. They are not performing. They are simply praying with tone, rhythm, and surrender. The chant flows like a river, even, continuous, and calm. It doesn't rise or fall with drama. It simply moves forward, carrying their voices across the stillness. The chapel becomes a room of gentle sound. And outside, the world remains asleep. This is how each day begins. Not with urgency, not with noise, but with silence, breath, and ritual. The prayer lasts nearly an hour. The monks chant psalms, read scripture, and recite from memory passages passed down for centuries. There is no rushing, no distraction. Their attention is whole, simple, and complete. At times, the wind outside whistles through the stones. At other times, a candle flickers out and is silently replaced. And all the while, the prayer continues. They do not pray for miracles. They do not ask for riches. They pray for peace, for patience, for presence. Because in a world that demands so much, this abbey asks for stillness. As Lauds draws to a close, the monks bow their heads in final reverence. No clapping, no shouting, no fanfare, just breath. And then, silently, they rise. The first light of day has not yet touched the hills. But inside these walls, the day has already begun. As the monks leave the chapel, the first hints of gray begin to stretch across the eastern sky. Not yet dawn, but the darkness is loosening. Clouds hover low and still. A faint mist clings to the ground outside, pressing gently against the thick, arched windows. Back in the corridor, the soft scuff of sandals returns. No one rushes. No one lingers. They walk in a line, each monk familiar with every step beneath his feet. This is not the first time he has walked this path, and it will not be the last. They descend a worn stone staircase, each step slightly curved from centuries of use. The passage leads them to the refectory, the abbey's dining hall. It is long, narrow, and quiet. On one side of the hall is a raised wooden pulpit. On the other, rows of plain wooden benches, each with its own simple bowl, wooden spoon, and small clay cup. There is no fire burning here. No smell of roasted meat or spices. Just the scent of cold stone and a faint trace of oats and bread. The monks file into their places. And then, the reading begins. Single monk climbs into the pulpit. He carries a small leather-bound book, held gently, reverently. As he opens it, the parchment pages flutter quietly. He does not introduce himself. He does not explain. He simply begins to read. Today, it is a passage from the life of Saint Benedict. His voice is calm, even, and slow. He reads not to entertain, but to remind. Each word is spoken clearly, deliberately, so that it may echo gently across the room and settle in the ears of his brothers. Meanwhile, the monks begin their meal. It is modest. Always. A single round of coarse brown bread, made from barley and rye. A warm bowl of thin oat porridge, gently salted. And water, or sometimes a weak ale brewed in the abbey's cellar. There is no meat, no fruit, no sweet cakes or buttered crusts. They eat with both hands, one to steady the bowl, the other to scoop with a wooden spoon. No one speaks. No one looks around. They listen. The reader's voice continues to guide them through stories of sacrifice, devotion, and discipline. He speaks of monks who slept on stone, who fasted for days, who prayed through illness and hardship. Not to glorify their suffering, but to teach calm perseverance. To remind that the quiet path is also the sacred one. Outside the abbey walls, the sky grows slightly paler. Birds begin to chirp in the trees, soft, cautious calls. Somewhere far down the valley, a stream can be heard moving slowly through grass and stone. But within the refectory, time moves differently. Here, the monks finish their meal, push their bowls aside with gentle hands, and bow their heads in silent prayer. The reader closes his book. He bows too. And together, without a word, the monks rise. The early morning meal ends as it always does, in silence, without signal or command. The monks place their bowls and cups back onto the long wooden tables, exactly where they were before. No one rushes. Every motion is practiced, soft, almost like a ritual of its own. These simple acts are not chores. They are parts of a rhythm that repeats every day, quietly anchoring life within the abbey walls. As they step outside the refectory, the cool air greets them gently. The eastern sky has shifted from gray to pale blue, though the sun itself remains hidden behind thick clouds. Mist still clings to the low hedges and the worn cobblestones beneath their feet. A few drops of dew catch the light, glistening like beads on the branches. They do not pause to admire it, nor do they ignore it. The world simply is, and they move through it with awareness, not urgency. Now begins their first labor of the day. Some monks head toward the garden, others toward the stables. A few return to the scriptorium, where manuscripts wait patiently to be copied, letter by letter. But even this work begins without words. Those who tend the garden slip their rough wool robes tighter around their shoulders and walk slowly to the rear of the abbey. Beyond a short gate and stone wall lies a small plot of land, divided by narrow paths and wooden stakes. Carrots, leeks, onions, and cabbages grow in tidy rows, their leaves dark with moisture. The earth is damp and slightly firm underfoot. One monk lifts a small wooden rake. Another bends quietly to pull weeds from between the rows. Their breaths are visible now in the cold, but no one complains. Their silence is not emptiness, it is attention. They listen to the earth, to their own breath, to the soft scrape of rake against soil. In the scriptorium, the mood is even quieter. This is a long, narrow room with tall arched windows, designed to capture what little daylight the abbey receives. Even now, that light is thin and gray, spreading across wooden desks and ink-stained parchment. Each scribe sits hunched over a thick page, a quill between his fingers. The ink is black and rich, made from oak galls and iron salts. One slow stroke at a time, they copy ancient texts, prayers, psalms, teachings. The script is neat, steady. Each letter a work of discipline. There is no rush. A single mistake means beginning the page again. Here, silence is sacred. It allows the mind to focus not just on the words, but on the space between them. Time passes differently when measured by ink drying. Elsewhere in the abbey, a small group of monks tend to livestock, chickens, goats, and a single ox used for pulling carts. The animals stir as the monks enter. Their hooves shuffle, their soft noises fill the stalls. The monks clean without protest, feed without waste, work without pride. Because to serve the abbey is to serve something greater than the self. No work is too low. No task too simple. Each one is offered with quiet hands and steady breath. By the time the sun finally pushes through the gray sky, the monks have already been awake for hours. They have prayed, eaten, and worked. And yet their day has barely begun. But this, too, is by design. Their lives are not built around events or accomplishments. They are built around presence. A single hour, lived with awareness, is worth more than a day filled with distraction. And so they continue, step by step, task by task, breath by breath. By mid-morning, the abbey's rhythm circles back to its center. The bell rings again. 3 slow, deliberate chimes. Each one echoes softly through stone hallways, across gardens, and into the quiet chambers. The sound is not jarring. It's like a breath, a reminder that time here is not tracked by urgency, but by devotion. The monks stop whatever task they are performing. Not in haste, but with reverence. They wipe their hands clean, set tools down gently, close books and mark their places. And once more, in silent procession, they return to the chapel. This hour is terse, the third hour of the day, according to ancient reckoning. The sun is now higher, casting long shafts of light through the chapel's windows. Dust dances in the golden beams, turning the air into something almost sacred. The monks enter slowly, quietly taking their places on the wooden stalls lining the sides of the chapel. The air carries a faint scent of wax, pine, and cool stone. One monk begins the chant again. Deus, in agitorium meum intend, asterisk. O God, come to my assistance. Their voices join in harmony, not elaborate, not musical, but steady and measured. The sound is soft, echoing slightly in the high stone chamber, wrapping around the arches above. They chant the Psalms, passages that have lived in their memory since childhood. Psalm 119, as always, takes its place, its verses speaking of devotion, discipline, and the longing for guidance. Blessed are those whose way is blameless. They chant not to be heard by others. They chant to quiet the self. After terce, the monks return to their daily labors, but this part of the day is often spent indoors. The weather outside remains cold and damp, and the sun gives little warmth. Some continue writing. Others clean the abbey, sweeping floors, oiling doors, organizing tools. One monk tends to a small collection of herbs, lavender, rosemary, and yarrow grown in clay pots against the southern wall. He checks each one gently, his fingertips brushing against leaves, turning soil, measuring moisture. Another monk sharpens tools by hand, a whetstone and slow circular movements. The sound is faint, rhythmic, and deeply meditative. A few assist the cook in preparing the midday meal, cutting root vegetables, stirring thick barley in iron pots, adding crushed herbs for flavor. No one supervises. No one commands. They simply know what must be done, and they do it with care. The abbey breathes as they work. It creaks and settles. The wind brushes against its ancient stones. The candles flicker, and the bell tower stands silently above, watching the passing sky. This is not a life of excitement. It is not meant to be. It is a life of deep presence, a slow rhythm, a quiet offering. The hour of sext, midday stillness asterisk. As the sun reaches its highest point, though still hidden behind a veil of clouds, the abbey prepares again for stillness. The bell rings once more, slower this time, as if it, too, is weary with the weight of the day. This hour is sext, the sixth hour, and marks the center of the monk's daylight devotion. The corridors feel warmer now, not from heat, but from familiarity. Every stone, every wooden beam, every echo of footsteps, they've all become companions. The monks gather once again in the chapel. Their footsteps fall in rhythm, a soft procession of sandaled feet against ancient stone. The shadows inside have shifted, long and graceful now, sweeping across the floor beneath the tall stained windows. The chant begins, low and even. O Lord, hear my prayer, and let my cry come unto thee. They chant Psalm 55, a prayer for peace, patience, and endurance. Outside, the world remains quiet. A gentle wind brushes across the worn walls. Birds sit motionless on the trees. The mist has risen, revealing green hills in the distance, damp and glowing in the soft light. Time bends in the chapel. There is no before, no after, only now. Only breath, word, silence. After sext, the monks walk quietly to the refectory once more for their main meal of the day. This time, the room holds a bit more warmth, a bit more presence. The light is stronger, the shadows deeper. The meal is simple but heartier. A stew of barley and root vegetables, simmered slowly with herbs. A wedge of rye bread. A slice of white cheese from the abbey's own goats. A clay mug of water or light ale. Still no meat. No indulgence. A monk climbs to the pulpit again. He reads slowly from the Rule of St. Benedict, passages about humility, labor, and listening with the ear of the heart. No one speaks. They chew carefully, listen fully. Even a meal is prayer here. As they finish, each monk bows his head in silent thanks. The bowls are stacked neatly. The reader closes his book. And slowly, one by one, they rise and return to their duties, silent, steady, and unseen by the world. The hour of none, shadows grow long asterisk. The bell rings again. Just once. A low, deep tone. It's now the 9th hour, asterisk none star. The sun has passed its peak. Light spills differently now. Softer, more golden. It glows through the tall windows and bathes the abbey's stone floors in amber. This hour is not rushed. The monks move slowly, their bodies tired, but their minds at peace. The rhythm of the day is never broken. It only bends gently with the hours. They enter the chapel for the 4th time today, and each time, it feels both new and ancient. They know exactly where to stand, exactly where to kneel. There are no questions, no uncertainty, only stillness. The chant begins. This time, the voices are gentler. Some older monks hum just under their breath. They recite from Psalm 126. Those who sow in tears shall reap with songs of joy. A fitting prayer for the afternoon. A reminder that every hardship, every ache, every quiet sacrifice serves something larger than comfort. Their words float upward like smoke, disappearing into the high, vaulted ceiling. No need to be heard, only felt. After none, the monks return to their final tasks of the day. Some return to the fields briefly, checking the perimeter for any needed repairs or gathering firewood to warm the abbey's central hearth. A few visit the small infirmary, checking on an older brother who now walks only with help. His cough has grown deeper in the cold, but he smiles when they enter. He says nothing. He doesn't need to. One monk carefully trims a worn candle wick, preparing it to burn into evening. Another brushes dust from a worn Latin text, handling it like a sacred relic. The abbey library is not large, but it holds treasures. Scrolls from centuries past. Bibles hand-copied by brothers long gone. Margins filled with faded notes and symbols. Even in silence, they speak. As the sun drifts behind the hills, the abbey begins to dim. Shadows stretch farther now. A cold draft slips through the cracks. The sky takes on a shade of silver blue, neither light nor dark, just in between. Twilight. Vespers. The light fades asterisk. As the sky deepens into violet and shadows stretch across the abbey walls, the bell tolls once more. Not loud, not urgent, just present, calling the brothers to their evening prayer. Vespers. This is the most poetic hour. The hour when silence feels fuller, when light softens, when hearts turn inward. The monks gather again in the chapel, this time with candles lit in iron sconces. Their flames flicker against the stone, reflecting in old eyes and weathered skin. There is no speech, only presence. They take their places slowly, hands folded, heads bowed. The chant begins softly. Let my prayer rise before you as incense. They chant Psalm 141, its words a mirror of the hour, a yearning for peace. A winter day of illness and endurance asterisk. The wind howls beyond the walls. It isn't a violent wind, just steady and cold, whispering through the narrow stone gaps with a voice that sounds almost ancient. Snow has begun to fall, slow flakes that drift down in silence, covering the outer cloister with a soft white sheet. Inside the abbey, warmth is sparse. A single fire burns in the common room, but it reaches only so far. The stone corridors remain cold, breath turning to mist with each exhale. The monks rise from their cots in the dim blue of dawn, shoulders hunched under coarse wool ropes. No one complains. No one speaks. This is winter in the abbey, and it is endured, not escaped. Today, one of the elder monks, Brother Odo, does not rise. His breathing had grown heavier the night before. Now, his small cell smells faintly of fever. A younger monk, Brother Thomas, kneels by his side, placing a damp cloth gently across Odo's brow. There is no medicine. Only prayer, rest, and the slow care of hands. Brother Thomas hums a short hymn under his breath, not to soothe Odo, but to steady his own nerves. This abbey has seen winters harder than this. It has buried monks in quiet corners of the garden under unmarked stones. That, too, is part of the rhythm. The rest of the monks continue the day as planned. The bell for lauds rings faintly in the cold air. They file into the chapel, their breath visible in the candlelight. This morning, the psalm chosen speaks of suffering, but also trust. I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. Their voices are tired, but even tired voices carry weight here. After prayers, the monks drink warm water steeped with dried sage and rosemary. It's not tea, just heat, a small comfort. Then they begin their work, but it is slower in the cold. The ink freezes in the scriptorium, so the scribes warm their fingers near the fire before continuing their copying. Each letter is an act of patience, a word etched in silence, a phrase committed not only to parchment, but to eternity. In the garden, Brother Elric clears snow from the footpaths. His breath is steady. His back aches. But every movement is deliberate, slow enough to preserve strength, fast enough to keep warm. The illness weighs on all of them, not just Brother Odo's, but the memory of winters past. Each monk knows how fragile the body is. They do not fear death here. They prepare for it daily, not with sorrow, but with awareness. They live each hour ready to surrender. A winter day of illness and endurance asterisk. The midday bell rings, asterisk sex star. Its echo is dull today, muffled by the thick snow that now coats the courtyard and rooftops. Inside, the abbey is still. The monks gather in the chapel again, their movements stiffer than usual. The cold creeps in through every crevice, numbing fingers and toes. Yet they pray, not loudly, not boldly, but with soft, worn voices that seem to blend with the candlelight. They pray for Brother Odo, not for healing, but for peace. His illness may pass, or it may not. Either way, they entrust it to God. In the refectory, the midday meal is more silent than usual. Steam rises from wooden bowls filled with thin lentil stew. A few crusts of bread. A small piece of apple, dried and wrinkled like the bark of an old tree. As always, one monk reads from the rule of Saint Benedict. Bear with the greatest patience one another's infirmities, whether of body or character. No one chews loudly. No one looks up. The rhythm is practiced, almost sacred. Even the act of eating is folded into prayer. Brother Thomas remains with Brother Odo, gently lifting him to sip warm broth. Odo's eyes flutter open, clouded but calm. He whispers nothing. His breath is shallow, but he knows he is not alone. That matters more than comfort. Outside, the snow thickens. The garden disappears beneath a blanket of white. Birds no longer sing. The hills are hidden in fog. Only the abbey stands, motionless and gray against the winter sky. Inside the scriptorium, the younger monks work with gloved fingers. They scribe slowly, ink drying too quickly, parchment curling from the cold. Each letter is a prayer. Each page, an offering. By the time the nun bell rings, shadows have already grown long. The sky has dimmed to pale silver. The wind presses against the windows. The monks return once more to the chapel. Their chants are softer now, barely above whispers. Psalm 23 is chosen. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. The words are familiar, but on a day like this, they carry weight. They settle like snow on shoulders. Quiet, cold, but somehow comforting. As the evening bell tolls, the abbey is cloaked in deep twilight. The cold seems sharper now, pressing in like a silent visitor. The monks move slowly through the stone corridors, footsteps echoing softly. Each carries a flickering candle, its light trembling against the ancient walls. They gather once more in the chapel for vespers, the evening prayers. Their voices rise in a gentle chant, rising and falling like the breath of the wind outside. The words are familiar, centuries old, yet they hold new meaning in this cold, still hour. The Psalms speak of protection, of guidance through darkness, of faith that outlasts fear. Brother Odo remains in his cell, wrapped in thick woolen blankets, the faint glow of a candle nearby. Though weakened, he is calm. The prayers seem to reach even him, weaving a quiet strength through the abbey's stones. After vespers, the monks take a brief moment in silence. The only sounds are the soft hiss of candles and the distant howl of the winter wind. No one speaks of the hardships. They do not need to. Their shared endurance is a silent bond, stronger than words. Then comes Compline, the final prayers before rest. The chapel feels colder now, the air heavy with the weight of the day's stillness. The monks kneel, their heads bowed, voices barely above a whisper. They ask for peace through the night, protection from evil, and the grace to face a new dawn. The words drift like smoke, slow and soft. Once Compline ends, the monks depart quietly, candles extinguished one by one. The stone halls grow darker. Only the crackle of the fireplace in the common room breaks the silence. Brother Thomas returns to Odo's cell to check on him. They share no words. A glance is enough. In this harsh winter, survival is as much about quiet presence as it is about strength. The abbey settles into stillness. Outside, snow continues to fall, muffling the world. Inside, the monks prepare for their cold, hard rest. Climbing into narrow beds, wrapped in coarse blankets, they close their eyes. Their last thoughts are prayers for warmth, for health, for endurance. For another day within these ancient, cold stone walls. The long, cold night asterisk. The abbey's stone walls hold the chill of the day as night deepens. Outside, The wind howls like a restless spirit, weaving through the narrow windows and ancient battlements. Inside, the monks lie in their simple beds, wrapped in thick blankets that do little to fend off the cold. Brother Odo listens to the whisper of the wind. The sound is constant, a reminder of the harsh world beyond these walls. Sleep comes slowly in the biting cold. Muscles stiffen, breaths form tiny clouds in the frigid air. Despite the biting chill, the monks find comfort in routine and faith. Each night, they surrender to the stillness with prayers on their lips. They ask for strength and resilience for the trials the coming day may bring. The night stretches endlessly. The dark is a heavy presence. The stone floors feel like ice beneath thin socks. Small noises, creaks, groans of settling stone, distant footsteps punctuate the silence. Yet, within this stark and unforgiving environment, there is a strange peace. The monks have learned to accept the cold as part of their spiritual journey. It strips away distractions, leaving only what is essential. The mind slows, thoughts turn inward. Dreams are rare, but when they come, they carry whispers of the outside world. Distant forests, rivers flowing beneath the ice, sunlit fields. By dawn, the cold has seeped into every bone. Hands are numb, faces pale from the bitter air. Yet the community awakens as one. The bell calls them back to prayer. Together, they face the next day, grateful for the warmth of their shared faith, no matter how meager the fire. The morning ritual asterisk. As the first pale light seeps through the narrow windows, the monks begin to stir. The chill of the night lingers in the air, but the promise of routine brings a quiet comfort. Brother Odo rises slowly, careful not to disturb the others in the sparse dormitory. His breath forms little clouds in the cold room as he dresses in his heavy woolen habit. The stone floors are icy beneath his bare feet, and he moves with practiced care. In the dim light, the flicker of candles casts long shadows along the rough-hewn walls. The abbey is still mostly silent, save for the soft rustling of robes and whispered prayers. The monks gather for the first office of the day, matins. In the great hall, lined with ancient tapestries and worn wooden benches, they kneel in unison. Their voices rise in low, melodic chants, echoing off the stone and reaching the high vaulted ceiling. The prayers are a steady rhythm, a ritual that steadies the heart and focuses the mind. For Brother Odo, this moment is both a refuge and a renewal. The cold seems to fade slightly as the warmth of community and faith fills the space. After matins, the monks share a simple breakfast, coarse bread, watered-down ale, and sometimes a small piece of cheese. The food is humble but nourishing, designed to sustain rather than delight. There is no rush, no noise beyond the quiet murmurs of gratitude and preparation for the day ahead. Tasks await: tending the gardens, maintaining the fire, copying manuscripts by flickering candlelight. Each duty is approached with reverence, a part of the sacred rhythm of life within the abbey's cold stone walls. Brother Odo steps outside briefly, feeling the sharp winter air against his face. The sun is weak and low, casting long shadows over the snow-covered courtyard. But despite the harshness of the season, life moves steadily forward. And in these simple moments, the cold air, the flicker of candles, the sound of prayer, the monks find meaning and peace. The labor of the scriptorium asterisk. After the morning prayers and simple breakfast, Brother Odo makes his way to the scriptorium, the quiet heart of the abbey's intellectual life. The scriptorium is a narrow room bathed in soft, filtered light, where monks labor over delicate parchments, their quills scratching steadily as they copy sacred texts. The cold stone walls are lined with shelves, heavy with ancient manuscripts, some so old that the pages feel brittle to the touch. The air is tinged with the scent of ink and aged leather. Brother Odo takes his place at a worn wooden desk, his fingers steady despite the chill that seeps through the stone floor. Each stroke of the quill is deliberate and precise. The work is painstakingly slow. Every letter must be perfect, every word copied exactly as it appears in the original text. Mistakes are rare but costly. A single errant mark can mar an entire manuscript. Thus, the monks work with intense focus, their breaths visible in the cold air, as if time itself moves slower within these walls. The rhythm of writing is punctuated only by the occasional turning of a page or the soft clearing of a throat. The silence is not empty but filled with the weight of centuries of knowledge preserved by these humble scribes. As the hours pass, the light outside dims, and the flicker of candles becomes more necessary. The temperature drops further, but no one complains. This labor is a form of devotion, a prayer in itself. Brother Odo's hands grow stiff, but he continues, driven by a sense of purpose. In these fragile manuscripts lies the wisdom of ages, preserved for generations yet to come. At times, he pauses to read aloud softly, allowing the words to settle in his mind and heart. The texts range from holy scripture to philosophical treatises, histories, and sometimes poetry. Outside, the winter wind howls, but within the scriptorium, there is a sanctuary, a timeless space where knowledge, faith, and discipline intertwine. As dusk settles over the abbey, Brother Odo places his quill down and stretches his cramped fingers. Though exhausted, there is a quiet satisfaction in the day's work done well. He joins the other monks for evening prayers, ready to rest and renew for the tasks tomorrow will bring. The harshness of winter asterisk. The winter deepens around the abbey, wrapping the stone walls in a cold embrace that seems almost eternal. Inside, the monks feel the bite of the season despite the thick woolen robes and layers of clothing they wear. Heat is precious and scarce, with only a few fireplaces scattered throughout the abbey. Brother Odo wakes before dawn, shivering as he pulls on his cloak. The cold air of the stone corridors cuts through the building, and the morning prayers feel like a battle to keep warmth in his body. Even the simple wooden benches seem icy beneath him. Food is meager and simple: oat porridge, stale bread, sometimes salted fish. The monks eat in silence, their faces pale from the winter's toll. The cold makes every task harder. Hands stiffen, breath clouds in the air, and footsteps echo hollowly through the empty halls. Water in the well often freezes over, forcing the brothers to chip away ice before fetching the precious liquid. The cold also threatens their crops and livestock, the food stores dwindling as the harsh season continues. The cold is not just physical, it wears on the spirit too. Loneliness and weariness creep in, but the monks rely on their faith and community to endure. They gather in the chapel for longer prayers, seeking strength in their shared devotion. Despite the hardship, there is a quiet beauty to the winter landscape. Frost clings to the bare branches outside, and the distant mountains are capped with snow. The silence is profound, broken only by the occasional crack of ice or the whisper of wind. Brother Odo finds solace in routine: prayer, work, study. Each act is a small victory against the cold and the long nights. He wraps his hands around a cup of warm broth, feeling a brief comfort in its heat. As the day fades, the monks light more candles, filling the shadows with flickering light. They huddle together in the common room, sharing stories and prayers to lift their spirits. Winter in the abbey is harsh and unforgiving, but it is also a time of reflection and quiet endurance, a testament to the resilience of those who call this remote stone fortress home. After months of cold, dark winter, the first hints of spring arrive at the abbey. Slowly, the frozen ground softens, and patches of green begin to peek through the snow. The air grows warmer, carrying the scent of damp earth and fresh growth. The monks wake to birdsong outside the stone walls, a sound they have longed for through the long nights. Brother Odo feels a renewed sense of hope as he steps outside, the sun's weak rays touching his face like a gentle promise. With spring comes new work. The brothers prepare the gardens, turning over soil hardened by frost and planting seeds for the coming months. Their fingers, once stiff and cracked from cold, now begin to heal in the warmer air. Water flows freely again from the well, sparkling in the sunlight. The livestock, sheltered all winter, venture out to graze on fresh grass, their calls filling the courtyard with life. The abbey seems to breathe again, walls less oppressive now that the sun warms their stones. The cold shadow of winter retreats, and with it, the heaviness in the monks' hearts. In the chapel, prayers of gratitude fill the air. The monks give thanks for survival and renewal, for the strength to endure the hardships, and for the gift of another season. Brother Odo reflects on the lessons winter brought: patience, faith, and the power of community. The hardships tested their resolve but also bound them closer together. As the days lengthen and warmth returns, the abbey comes alive with new energy. The monks' routines shift from endurance to growth, from quiet reflection to hopeful action. The stone abbey, once cold and forbidding, now feels like home in the light of spring. Its walls have witnessed the cycle of seasons and the resilience of those who live within. And so, life continues, marked by struggle, faith, and renewal, within the remote stone abbey nestled among hills and forests, a sanctuary of peace and perseverance.